Now he fully comprehended the sliding scale of communication engendered. Some were more upfront than others in their self-reportage. He about turned in order to drink in again her sublime communique. What would he do when he attained proximity with her once again? How could he manoeuvre himself so as to be correctly aligned geometrically? He would solve these conundrums when he arrived at such a situation. However, he was finding it rather hard to match her stride, as indeed he was finding the near trot of all these jet-heeled purchasers too hot to touch, for they were each seemingly possessed of the missionary zeal. They seemed not to have to surface for air as they marched up stridently. However, he was panting. High maintenance, endorsed the latest flyer. One size fits all, promoted another in giant undulating calligraphy. Postmodern irony unveiled a third, abutting a roundel target. And was the centre of the bullseye framing her nipple? His noodle was being scrambled. He felt all stirred and corkscrewed. He eased his clip and gave up the pursuit. He would just have to commit the brain pair relief to memory and reconvene it at his leisure. He stopped and crouched down on his haunches to recover his breath. Passers-by were again forced to deviate around him and shot him glowers of inconvenienceness. He felt the heat of their glares and righted himself. To be immediately dazzled by a shard of light penetrating his eye, he averted his concussed rubbernecking and shielded his brow with his hand before plucking sufficient pique to peek beneath his peak. What assailed him was a spangle of bouncing light, like the sun reflected off the gentle lap of waves, as some anonymous novelist had once limned for his imagination, seeing as he'd never actually been to the seaside. He reacted quickly during the waning period and appointed that he was being scintillated by a sharp reflection off a woman's posterior, serving hither and thither as she walked in advance of him by about 15 feet. And then it hit him with crystal clarity. Except it being on the return swing, it was actually temporarily somewhat blinding. Something embedded, obviously, upon the usually reliably non-reflective matte black denim her bottom was upholstered in. Studs of some sort, rhinestones, sequins, who knew? Not him, certainly. He was about to spurn the whole thrust when he tumbled to the non-symmetrical arrangement of these tail-mounted cat's eyes. Now, as far as aesthetically pleasing fashion principles were concerned, the prevailing orthodoxy stipulated that this could not possibly be correct. He summoned up the reserves to lengthen his stride and zoom in closer. He had to synchronise his sway to match hers, in order to efface the parallax that was shaking his vertical hold. And then it coalesced upon his retina. Her stippled rear was speaking to him. Not literally, of course, but the coloured pimples picked out a word all the same in petite calligraphy, since the word appeared to have 4 syllables, when she was not exactly trailing a wide load, if you know what I mean. Bootylicious. Booty, he knew, referred to treasure, piratical or otherwise. Assuredly the suggestion of ill-gotten gain, a plundered yield. But licious? As he was later to discover from his online dictionary, no such lexicographical constructor officially existed. It politely inquired as to whether he had mistyped one of the following: luscious, locais, vicious, delicious, malicious. And when it feebly proffered lice as his possible erratum, then he shut off further consultation. But for now, since the delineation was located preparatorily above her arse cheeks, apologies now for resorting to such bankrupted linguistic stock, he apprehended that it was a continuation of the t-shirt telescoping trend, or maybe even its apotheosis. Then a hand clamped his shoulder. "A word in your ear, son." He spun round, and on encountering a serge jacket plumped by body armour, he knew his jig was up. "I want to get it all off my chest, officer," he blurted.